Hello and welcome to the FSF podcast. I am Tim. I am your host, and this is the show that is made by nerds for nerds. And we are so glad to welcome you to our makeshift nerdery today. It's taken me 4.5 years, but I'm finally living out every podcaster's dream. I am here in my mother's basement podcasting because my house is so far under construction. There's holes in the floor. So, yeah, I'm living the dream. It took me 4.5 years, but here I am. But I am excited today. We have a really nice guest waiting for you in the green room. And she might have the most diverse resume of anybody I've ever talked to on this show. And the cool thing about that is that she's kind of dipped her toes in a lot of different things. She's been an animator, an actor, a voice actor. She's a producer. She's a recording studio owner. She's worked for some other companies as a head of production. And if IMDb hasn't lied to me, which it is the Wikipedia of the entertainment world. If it hasn't lied to me, she's also been involved in special effects on movies like Alita Battle Angel and Predators and some other things like that. We'll find out if that's true in just a little bit. And look, I'm sure I've missed a few things. There's so much information about our guest out there. I really didn't have time to go through it all. She even spoon-fed me some of it, and I'm still sure I missed something. So I'm very excited to welcome Samantha Inoue-Harte to the FSF podcast. Welcome to the show, Samantha.
Hello, nice to meet you. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so excited.
absolutely. I'm very excited to have you because, like I said, there's so many things that you've been involved in over the years, and I love it when people have a very diverse resume. And in all honesty, you may have the most diverse resume of anybody I've talked to, because usually on somebody's resume, there's one or two things that they're involved in. I lost count. I was like, okay, there was this. Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna have to take off my shoes, and that's not fun for anybody. I lost track of counting, but so yeah. So I think we're gonna have a fun chat today. So one of the things that we like to start off every interview with, and as I told you in the pre-show, I love to know what makes people tick. I love to know why they do what they do and why they're doing it. Sometimes it's just because, well, oh, the opportunity was there, so I took it. And sometimes it's the motivation of the heart, and that's why they're doing what they do. But at the base of it, I'm a nerd, and nerds love a good origin story. So, Sammy, what's your origin story? How did you get here?
Well, so fairly recently, I was diagnosed with, mental disability. I'm somewhat on the spectrum, and as I've been learning a lot about what it is that I have, it's kind of like a ADHD. Sorry, my cat's right here. He's like, I'm gonna be on the
Understood.
camera. Um, so I actually found out that through uh through being on the spectrum, it's like a lot of the quirks that I have actually been a major influence on my work. Um, because, I started off, like hyper fixated on like, oh, I want to get into animation. It's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I would hit hyper fixate on a topic and that's actually how I got into animation. I literally, called the studio, every day, showed up at the studio every day, and I was like, hire me, hire me, hire me, and thankfully my artwork was good enough that they were like, okay, cool. Yeah, come on in.
Nice.
And at the time, even now, it's like I'm always dancing. I'm always like moving around. It's like that's me. Physical stimming, I guess, is what you call it.
Yes.
Um, and I would also do a lot of vocal stimming, and I'd be sitting there animating Barbie, and I would start talking to the characters that I was animating. It's like I'd be like drawing like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch Part Two. Um, for a long time, I worked over at Powerhouse Animation, which is like known for Castlevania and Clerks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like working on Clerks, and um, but there was a point in time when this producer was coming around behind all the cubicles that all the animators were working at, and I was vocal stimming. I was talking crap to like the characters that I was animating, and I was making like lots of R2D2 noises because I sound, it's like one of my nicknames was R2, because I would do the R2D2 scream constantly when I was younger. And so, yeah, one of the producers was like, "Wow, you have an annoying voice. You'd be perfect in anime." And so I actually got dragged into voice acting in anime and started getting into that, and then I got into video game voice acting. uh I did get to play R2 in one of the games. I was really excited, or at least it was like some droid. It looked like R2. I don't even know. They don't really tell me. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like, vocal stimming helped in that essence. Um, and a lot of the times, it's like that I would voice act, it would be a lot of me vocal stimming most of the time behind the microphone. And then and because Texas, the film industry and the video game industry is actually fairly small and contained.
Hmm.
One of the people that I was animating for was Mike Judge, and he was like, "Hey, it's like we're doing a film. Can you be in it?" And so I got to be in like like a lot of his movies. Uh, my favorite one being Idiocracy, you know,
Yes.
um, and which is very relevant to today. I was kind of shocked about that. And from there, it's like got to, started acting over at Troublemaker Studios.
Hmm.
And because, it's like I was bored on set one day, it's like somebody was like, "Hey," it's like, "Can you help us like do, make some blood?" And it's like, "Okay, sure." And I'm sitting there, it's like for free, I was doing it. Um and so I kind of became that, it's like, "Oh, ask Sammy, she'll do anything." It's like, remember those Kicks commercials? Like, "Get Mikey, he'll eat anything."
Right.
Um that was me. So anything that they needed to have done on set, I would do. So it was like whether it was like gore effects makeup on the movie Planet Terror, got to do like motion capture for a lot of movies. So motion capture kind of falls in line with VFX department stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
So uh, so I was always like, it's like, "Oh, get Sammy." It's like she'll put on that leotard and look like a sausage with feet. It's like, "Yeah, awesome, I'll do it." Because I was always like flailing around all the time because that's vocals that's that stimming thing. At the time, I didn't know it. I just thought I was just hyper. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
and so really, my getting into it is, I really blame my disability. It's like I'm just constantly just like, saying yes to doing like weird, silly things. It's like I got to be work on the movie Teeth, um,
Hmm.
which I don't know if you've seen. It's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
um, got to be in Alita Battle Angel, got to work on that, got to do we had to like got to help out on Predators. With Predators was interesting because part of it was filmed in the wintertime of Texas. And so we were using like a lot of the props from Planet Terror and Death Proof as
Interesting.
like there was like a hut that we had to build for the predators,
Hmm.
like their home base. And so it's like we had body parts, and those were all like used body parts from the previous movie. And so yeah, it's like it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I just continued in all of the different veins of work. So I did voice acting, did VFX work, did animation, and then I got hooked into working over at Gonzo Studios, which is one of the few Emmy award-winning anime studios in Japan.
Hmm.
They're best known for Afro Samurai,
Yeah.
Hellsing, Gantz, Basilisk, Last Exile, Saikano, like over 80 different shows. And so, you know, just like with anything else, it's like I started working there, and the president of the studio was like, "Hey," it's like, "Can you help out with this?" And I'm like, "Sure." And it just kind of blossomed from there.
That's cool. It's kind of a cool story that your disabilities became something that you use to make ability, and I like that. It's
If if
yeah.
you go into most like if you talk to any VFX artist, 9 times out of 10 they have ADHD.
Oh, sure, yeah, I believe that.
It's like, yeah, we're all over the place in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, a lot of the people that I've talked to, there's different levels of ADHD, different levels of even with some of those who are on the autism spectrum, and it's kind of interesting because they're like, yeah, in the same thing. There's the hyperfixation, and they would take that and make that as not only just part of their personality, but part of how they portrayed themselves and
Mhm.
and poured themselves into their careers. And that's kind of what it sounds like what you
Yeah,
kind of did with with ADHD. Just like, well, I'm here, I might as well try this. What the heck? Well, let's go give it a run.
exactly, exactly. I mean, it's like I get bored behind a desk, so desk jobs just didn't
Fair.
do it for me. It's like I couldn't sit still. It's like I'd be the one that would take the pencils and I'd start drumming constantly. Um, and just being able to do all these different things, it's like it just kind of it it helps, it's like that ability to just like take an idea and just run with it, right? And so,
Right.
and what's nice is that companies that have been very helpful. I'm always very open. I'm an open book when it comes to like, my strengths and weaknesses. I got hired on to do some writing on a Star Wars project a few years back in 2019 here in Austin at a video game studio. For all your Star Wars fans, you probably already know what project that was. Got shelved. But it's like they were very it's like they courted me for about a month before I finally said yes. Um, and it was really interesting because they allowed me to do a lot of experimental writing because um, I was seeing things from a different perspective than the average Star Wars fan. It's like I
Sure.
wasn't just thinking about, it's like, oh, here's some action. We're gonna just put these as a string of actions. It's like writing for 16 hours worth of content. It's like you kind of have to think more along the lines of like, okay, well, what would this character do in this situation? It's like and trying putting empathy into things. It's like and thinking from the perspective of those characters. Like, what would that character really do? Like, if I were that character, what would I do? And then
Sure.
you have to think about it from like, well, I'm not myself. I'm actually this character. It's like, and putting yourself into that character's head and kind of living as that character for a hot minute and then writing those sequences from the perspective of that character. And that's actually helped a lot with writing for anime.
Nice.
And so I've been developing a whole slate of content for Gonzo.
Nice.
And yeah, it's like my boss, he just it's at a point where he just kind of goes like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, let's make that." It's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Nice. All right. So I because I can't let something slide. So I'm assuming that you were involved with. It was known as Project Ragtag. So I'm assuming that's the one you were referring to, Battlefront 3.
No,
No? Okay. Oh boy, I missed it. That's the one I knew of from 2019. Okay.
yeah, no.
Oh,
Part of me is kind of like they never announced my association to the video game.
okay.
Uh, I just saw something come up. I mean, I'm
Or was
it
it 1313?
2019 was when I started on this
No, I mean
project.
that was it the game 1313?
Oh no,
Okay.
no,
Those
it's
are the two that I knew about. So, all right, so I'll let it go. We'll move
over at
along.
Aspire Media.
Okay.
Aspire Media was the video game studio that was handling
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right, I'll let it go.
So,
I'll look it up
um,
later.
I was working
Fine.
with under a guy named Temujin. Um,
Okay.
so,
All
um,
right.
yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like I know that with NDAs and stuff like that, it's like I
Oh,
am
sure.
past
Yeah,
the dates I am allowed to technically talk about it, but it's like um because of how uh scary the fan base is, it's like part of me is like because like a
that's fine.
chunky short Asian girl, is like working as a writer on some Star Wars games and stuff like that
Because
is
you
kind
know,
of
histo-
kind of daunting.
historically, historically, the Star Wars fan base has been very accepting of Asian women in movies, sequel trilogy. Anyway, yeah, so many fans owe Kelly Marie Tran a huge apology. Anyway,
I've received death threats. It's kind of freaky, so yeah.
oh, that sucks so bad. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that.
I
I I,
I
I
I
look,
tend to ignore it.
I'm a lifelong I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. I adore Star Wars in its every form and fashion. I can be critical of the shows, but I'm also never so critical to the point where I'm like, you know what? That actress or that actor or that writer, yeah, I'm gonna send them some piece of my like, yeah, I'll be critical of it, say why I think this part was good or why that part was bad. That's fine. That's my right as a fan, but people got to learn boundaries, man. Holy crap.
What I found to be very interesting about working in Star Wars is, like, admittedly, I'm not exactly a big fan. I was always a Star Trek person.
Fair enough.
Um, but, it's
Always
like
one.
when I first got hired, I ended up meeting, Ryan Johnson. I
Hmm.
spoke with, Giancarlo Volpe. Uh, talk regularly with Peter Ramsey. It's like a lot of the Star Wars, it's like people behind the scenes, like
Hmm.
directors and writers and VFX artists. Like it's interesting how even if like their projects got torn apart by Star Wars fans and things like that, or got lauded as being amazing. Everyone that works in Star Wars has been so incredibly sweet. Like,
Sure, yeah.
everyone has been very supportive, everybody's sweet, we all, like, kind of, like, message with each other every once in a while with, like, send funny text messages back and forth,
Hmm.
but it's a really interesting community of people, and everybody is really supportive of each other, and I was actually very surprised by that.
Yeah, now I'm not claiming to be any part of the Star Wars community, but we've had a lot of Star Wars folks on the show, um, and both writers and actors and voice actors, and and the thing to me is that I've always noticed is that they're genuinely excited for someone when they have a new project coming out. It's not just, oh, they have a new project. It's like, oh my gosh, have you seen so and so's new project? It's so cool. We can't wait to. It's always and in all honesty, that's much the same reaction when I'm talking with people from Star Trek too. Those two fan bases, those two universes, the people who are working in those universes, I have found to be very, just very agreeable people. They're wonderful, and just it makes it so nice to be able to sit down and have a conversation with somebody that is that genuinely excited, not just for what they're doing, but for what their friends are doing, and that's an amazing thing to see, and from my perspective.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so amazing, it's like, um I talk a lot with, like, Yoshi Vu, who's, like, one of the VFX artists for a lot of the movies, um, and, we both have ADHD, and so we're always it's like, we hyper fixate on each other, and so it's like every day, it's like we're messaging, like, it's like all day long, just, stuff like that, it's like, Peter Ramsey has always been really, really supportive and just very sweet. I'm excited, it's like, when he came out, it's like and was doing like Mandalorian, directing several episodes of Mandalorian and Ashoka, he was like, "Oh, be sure to check it out." And we're like, "Yeah," um, it was, it's like, working with these people have been like everybody. It's I don't get a lot of, this much positivity in a lot of the other industry areas that I work in. So that's why I'm so, like, "Ah," about, it's like,
That's
um,
cool.
about it, so, and actually I have to fly out in April, for, I think it's, like, Star Wars Celebration over at Tokyo Disneyland, so I'll be in that area. I'm pro
Not jealous at all.
I'm not gonna be presenting anything, but I'll be
No,
around.
but you'll be there, and I'm not jealous at all. It'll be fine. I'll be
I'm
fine. I'll be
sorry.
fine. It'll be fine. I'll only mostly cry from my home. It'll be okay. So, all right. So, Sammy, let's talk about some of the things that you have done. Now, we've talked about you talked about your work in VFX, special effects, all that stuff. We talked about your voice acting. We talked a little bit about your animation. Um, and we're also there's a business side to some of the things that you're doing as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. But
Yeah.
before the business side of stuff, one of the things I love about these interviews is we get to see that the people who are behind the microphones, or in front of the cameras, are more than just one thing. That they're not just a voice actor. They're not just an animator. They're not just these whatever we've come to know them for. But there's usually one of those crafts, one of those skills that feels like home. Like I enjoy doing all these things, but this is where I feel the most creative. So, in the life of Sammy Inoue-Harte, what is the thing that feels like home to you when you're being creative?
Wow, okay, so, I mean, it's hard, right? It's like, I guess people are always really surprised about the fact that, it's like I work in a very art dominating, it's like industry, right? It's like I'm
Mhm.
coming up with original anime, it's like developing it for, it's like both Enlight Media and for Gonzo, it's like we've just announced several projects, it's like have have amazing producers attached to these like projects including Viola Davis and Peter Ramsey, it's like in any actually, I just got a message that the newest version of a treatment for an anime just popped in my message. It's like you know, developing content and things like that. A lot of people are always really surprised that, you know, when I say it's like that's actually not my passion. It's like my passion has never actually been filmmaking.
Okay.
My passion is music. Uh,
Oh, wow.
so
Okay.
So, um, I just, I do animation because I'm good at it. It's like I do VFX because I'm good at it. I do voice acting because I'm good at it. But it's like, would I say that it's my passion? No, it's not my passion. My passion is actually drumming. I love to drum.
Oh, no
Um,
way. Nice.
I do beats. I make beats at home. It's like I like to produce music. I do that kind of on the side. Um, it's like and that's kind of the thing that drives me every day. It's like, it's like, oh, I've got all these Zoom meetings. And it's like looking at contracts and making sure that these stories work well. And um, but then as soon as I have like an hour block of time, or 30 minutes of time, I'm playing Yarg, which is yet another rhythm game. And, I am drumming the heck out of my E-kits. I've got 2 E-kits, in my living room right now. Uh, and so, yeah, that's kind of it's like it's always surprising when people are like, "Oh, it's like you must be passionate about, it's like your animation work." It's like, "No,
Not
music."
really. No, no. No, that's awesome. That is actually something I did not know about you. So that is a nice little tidbit there. I like it when I learn something during the interview, and not that I was wrong because IMDb told me something and I was wrong about it. That's happened a couple times. Um, but no, that's cool. I like the fact that you have something that's a creative outlet for you. That's actually away from what you do, and
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing. Because sometimes the creative outlet or where people feel most creative is inside of something that they're doing for work, and so they get burned out doing the thing that they enjoy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's like, and I do get burnt out on things like, you know, I I hyper fixated for a long time on voice acting, but
Hmm.
then I got burnt out from it. So and now, even though I get like offers for roles fairly frequently, um I just don't have the urge for it. And it's like, and
Sure.
I realized that like, oh, I don't want to get burnt out from stuff. And so I needed to find an outlet that helped me stay creative, creating music, it's like, and, um, working with famous musicians and things of that nature, creating soundtracks for the anime that I'm working on. It's like, holy, what? um,
Nice.
that is kind of the new, um, addition that you'll start to see on IMDb soon. It's like you'll start to see it's like, "Oh, she's working on the music for that movie, and she's working on the
I love
music
it.
for this show." So, yeah,
Well, that's
that's
very
kind of
cool.
become a thing now.
That's a very cool thing to become a part of. All right. So now you mentioned Enlight Media, and there's another company that you're doing some work with, and you've got some pretty major partnerships that are coming together. You mentioned working with like Peter Ramsey and Viola Davis, um, and another
Wu-Tang?
with Wu Tang. Uh, because Wu Tang is for the children, so it's important that we have them involved. Uh, yeah, honestly, when you sent that across to me, and I was like, I'm sorry, wait, what? I did not know about that, and that was very exciting for me. But I was hoping you would take a moment to explain what each of these partnerships is and what people can look forward to.
So, um, so from working here in the US, you kind of learn that, it's like a lot of the animation studios and companies, it's like they don't work together. It's like nobody likes to play nice with each other. It's like
Sure.
Titmouse is over here, Disney is over here, Warner Brothers is over there, Sony is over here. It's like all these different, it's like animation studios. They don't cross pollinate.
Okay.
If you ever watch like the ending of most anime, like say I don't know Naruto or My Hero Academia, um, at the end of each episode you'll see that it's like, oh, there's a primary animation studio, but then you'll see like about 13 or 14 different animation studios after that in the
Right.
credits. And it's because like all the different animation studios actually work together. Um you know, through Gonzo, it's like I work a lot with Studio 4 Degrees Celsius, we work with Polygon, we work with um Studio Kai, we work with uh sorry, my brain is just like shutting down all of a sudden.
That's okay.
It's like we work with Day Art Studio, which is like the first black owned anime studio in Japan. Just today I started doing a favor for another black owned animation and manga studio in Japan called uh I think it's Phoenix Sakura or Sakura Phoenix. I think it's Sakura Phoenix. It's run by a guy named Mario. Really, really great guy. They're doing um, uh, just today. They're dropping the pre-sales of a new comic out in Japan and here in the U.S. And it's like that just happened today. Like that, you're the first one to find out about it. um,
Woo!
so yeah, it's like partnerships in Japan is a lot easier to do, and every different studio, every different person, comes with their different expertise, and everybody likes to work
Mhm.
with each other because we all like to create, new and amazing things. And one of the things that's interesting about the anime industry is that, for decades, anime has always been by Japanese for Japanese, right? And
Sure.
but then anime kind of spread to other parts of the world because you had a lot of, military people in Japan who would sit there and be like, "What is this on TV?" And then they started like videotaping what they would see on TV, and they'd send it out, these VHS tapes to all these like
Hmm.
military bases across the globe, and then those ended up getting leaked out to all the different colleges, and then they started having like anime clubs all over the place, and you'd have situations where people would have a 16th generation copy of Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind, and everybody would be staring at the screen, and it'd be all blurry, and everybody would be like playing around with the tracking on the VHS to make sure that the screen. Yeah, I'm
The
aging
copy of the
myself,
copy of the
man.
copy of the copy of the copy. Yeah.
It's like, and people would be like, "Oh wow, is Nausicaa? Is she wearing pants under that skirt? It looks like I don't know. It looks like a butt." Um, and and so people would that was how anime, kind of started getting around, right? But now, it's like you watch the Olympics and pretty much all these like different like athletes from across the globe are like doing the Naruto run. They're doing like the
Hmm.
it's like the hand gestures and things like that. They're wearing like colors based on like certain anime, Jujutsu Kaisen
Yep.
or whatever. And it's like the Japanese, you know, they realize that they're like, oh, anime is not just for Japanese audiences anymore. It's a global thing now.
For sure. Yeah.
And so for Gonzo, we've always had a things ever since Blue Submarine #6, which came out in the 90s. Um, we've always strived for creating very diverse casts in our shows. Right? So it's like Blue Submarine #6. We like the majority of the characters are people of color, right? Because uh, it's in the future. We don't know where in the future. It's
Okay.
it's like we're gonna have people like me. I'm biracial. It's like we're gonna
Right.
have it's like characters that are like alien. It's like and so Gonzo has always strived to create more of a global cast of characters in all of their anime. Um, it's like in Gatekeepers, we've got a Blasian character who, she struggles with, the fact that she's Blasian in Japan. It's like as one of the
Okay.
themes of that character. In Samurai X, not Samurai X, Samurai 7, which is a sci-fi riff on Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai.
Mm.
Basically, Samurai Seven Samurai in space, basically, before Rebel Moon. um, we made sure that two of the main samurai are actually black. We've always, like pushed for a very diverse set of characters, and that's why Gonzo's titles have always done really well in other countries. Like, we go to the Middle East and we've got fans that just rave about all of our anime. It's like we go to, South America and people just love, it's like our titles
Hmm.
because they're like, oh, we see us in your anime. And
Exactly.
um
Yeah.
so we decided a while ago, it's like, wow, okay, we're the majority of our viewership is actually outside of America, it's like, and it's in these areas which are, primarily black and brown. And uh, so the next step was like, oh, well, if, it's like you look at the average viewership of anime, um, the average person who's watching anime is either Asian or black, oddly enough.
Interesting. Okay.
You you look at the fan base in Africa, it is huge. Like, how big is Africa? How many black people are
Right.
watching
Right.
anime?
Yeah.
They love anime. It's like so,
Hmm.
you know, anime is a business, right? It's like if our
Oh, for sure.
audience is primarily either Asian or black, then wouldn't it make sense that we would cater to our clientele?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So Um, so yeah, it's like so we decided to partner up with Enlight, and we've also been helping Day Studio in the creation of Aframe, which is Afrocentric animation. And with Aframe, we're able to then create, high quality, Afro Samurai quality animation, um, and through our partnerships with like studios like 4 Degrees Celsius, who is you guys might know them for working on the Animatrix and Batman, Gotham Knight, um, motherfuckers. They've worked on Berserk: The Golden Age arc
Okay.
movies. They're amazing. It's like, and we do a lot of work with Masao Maruyama-san, who is the producer from, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. He was the founder of Madhouse Studios, and now he runs
Okay.
M2. And so
Okay.
they're one of our big partners. Um, and so, it's like, uh, I'm kind of wearing 2 hats on a lot of these projects where it's like I'm working, as, the US head of animated content for Gonzo. It's my job to kind of shepherd and like media in the Japanese realm, so that way they
Okay.
can succeed at creating this new genre of anime, Aframe. And with Enlight, I work as the head of production, and so I'm overseeing, everything from, it's like script writing, story development, character designs, it's like the whole shebang. Um, but, I don't work in such a way that it would stunt the creativity of the writers and, the Americans that are working involved over at Enlight. Um, I'm just there to make sure that their dreams come true, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes absolute sense for sure. Um, yeah. So, uh, but yeah, just to kind of circle back on some of this. So you've been working with some pretty big names. We
Oh, yeah.
mentioned
Oh,
those.
sorry. See, I got totally ADHD for a
It's
second there.
okay. That's
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
I have notes. That's what I'm going from. So I have
Oh, yeah,
notes.
yeah, yeah. No, no, but yeah, you're right. It's like with Enlight Media, it's like it was kind of one of those things where it's like we're the creators of Afro Samurai. It's like and Enlight is like, well, it's like has there been any Afro Samurai merch? It's like in the US, like there's been a little bit, but not much. It's like
Right.
and so they connected it's like the dots with Hypeland, which is like one of the best anime clothing companies that I know out there. It's like their clothing is so high quality. It's like I look
Nice.
at their stuff and I'm like, I want that. I want all of this. Um and yeah, I want my whole closet to be Hypeland. And so it just kind of made sense that it's like, oh well, if if we're doing Afro Samurai, shouldn't we have the RZA involved? Well, why not why stop there? Why not just have, like, connect with all of, Wu-Tang? It's like it's a reunion. So,
That's
'cause,
cool.
the Rizzo worked on the soundtrack for Afro Samurai,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, it's like we're working again with, Wu-Tang Clan and, on a new fashion line for Afro Samurai. It's so exciting, so
Yeah.
happy.
That was really cool. Now you mentioned the quality of the garments, but I had also I haven't seen them in person, but I'll take your word for it. But I have seen the images of some of the stuff that they were producing, and I remember watching Afro Samurai on MTV back in the day, and going, that was a cool show. It was a lot of fun. Uh, but I also remember I was looking at some of that stuff, going, oh, I'd wear the hell out of that hoodie. Uh, I'm a hoodie guy, so if I could wear a hoodie, life is good. And I was like, yeah, I'd wear the hell out of that hoodie. It was a nice big, had the big Afro Samurai here on the chest. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, they
I
didn't
want
come out
that.
with any, like, Afro Samurai merch here in the US, and I was so disappointed. I'd been pushing for years, and finally, we just were like, "You know what? Let's do it ourselves. Let's get this
Yeah,
done."
let's make it
And,
happen. Absolutely.
yeah, and so, I think, Crunchyroll has been communicating with us, and,
Nice.
so, yeah, we've been we're on a roll. We should be having, the we should be having 2 drops this year for Afro, clothing merch. Um, and we're
Nice.
trying to see, and I can't promise this, but we're trying to get it so that way we have some stuff ready for when Wu Tang goes on their last tour, so that way they can wear it.
That would be
Um,
really cool.
so fingers crossed. That's
Talk
my
about
goal.
product placement. Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
that'd be great.
so yeah.
Okay. So in the beginning of this interview, we sat down, we talked about how I like to find out what makes people tick. And so another question that I like to ask, because I think this is kind of important because of when we're coming up, we have different people, different mentors that help us along the way. They point us in this direction for this thing. They may point us in that direction for that thing. But I always like to know, what advice have you received that to you is the most immeasurable? What has meant the most to you? Because, like, I can tell you, for me, there, as a young man, I was told, and my kids are probably sick of hearing this. It doesn't matter how you fall; it's how you get up that matters. We're
Mhm.
all imperfect. We're all gonna make mistakes, and so to me, that was always very important growing up. So that I knew that it gave me the mental affirmation that I could make mistakes, and it was going to be okay. Because that's not what I was going to be judged against. It was going to be how I responded to them. So for me, that was important. That's been immeasurable my whole life. So for you, what advice have you been given that has been immeasurable, that has maybe helped you through life, through work, whatever it may be?
Oh, man. Um, so my dad, um, my dad used to tell me that when it came to, work, um, to always be flexible, right? And there's always gonna be opportunities. It's just a matter of recognizing when those opportunities happen,
Hmm.
and they might not be at the best times, but go for them anyway. Try and
Sure.
grasp them. And, he worked for the Navy for a long time as a civil servant.
Okay.
He managed, the housing development for the military,
Okay.
um, after he retired from active service. Um, and he always said that, it's like when it comes to working, it's like always think 2 steps ahead. It's like, and just try and always picture what the next 5 years is gonna be like. It's like, and, and the other thing that, uh, a lot of people might not realize about me is that, um, my family are mostly Buddhist monks. My mother's, family comes from, they run 2, Buddhist temples, one in Shizuoka, one in Ofuna, in Japan. I was raised, in basically a Buddhist compound, and, I found that, giving to the community and always not thinking about myself, but what is best for the community is kind of key,
Hmm.
to how you should live. And so, and that's kind of like the thing that I kind of live by. I always try and be kind, and I always try and be charitable, and I always try and be a teacher. It's like, um,
Nice.
I learned everything about producing from this fantastic man named Paul Alvarado Dijkstra. Everything I know about producing, I learned from him. And he worked under Guillermo del Toro.
Hmm.
He managed Guillermo del Toro's office in Texas, and so I was a sponge. I took like everything that he said, and I took it to heart. And but then I added that sort of Buddhist you know tinge to it, right? It's like
Nice. Yeah.
treated people with kindness. Um, a lot of people. I think I ended up getting an award back in, like, 2007, many years ago when they had, like, that website anime on DVD.com. Um, there I didn't know it, but I got nominated for being the kindest person in the anime industry, and I
Nice.
was like, "Oh, that's an award? Okay, awesome." that's good. It's like, so nicest person in the anime industry. And I kind of took that to heart and I was like, whoa, man, it's like, yeah, rule by kindness. It's like it takes more effort to be mean than it is to be kind, right?
For sure.
And so the combination of kindness, charitability, it's like teaching, helping, it's like others, but also thinking two steps ahead from my father's advice. Those those things are what has driven um this wild ride that I'm on. It's like I never know where my work is going to take me. That's why like my resume is always so garbled. People are like, "What are you?" It's like I don't know.
I am
uh,
Sammy. That is what I am.
yeah, and so and I'm driven by this ADHD thing. But
Perfect.
really, it's like those things helped me. Like my
Okay.
dad's advice about thinking two steps ahead and just being kind, and
Nice.
that's helped.
I like it.
Thank you.
All right, Sammy, it is time for a silly question.
Okay.
All right. So this came about because my co-host Kathleen, who's recovering from surgery right now,
Oh,
uh,
I'm sorry.
yeah, so she's doing well. She's a few days out, but she's still recovering. So I told her not to feel like she needed to rush back. That I could handle this. I could do it. I could do it. Uh, don't worry, Kathleen. I've got this. Anyway, her and her daughter were out and about, and somebody asked this of her daughter, but not of her. And Kathleen was like, "How rude! You should have asked me too." So anyway, here it is. Samantha Inoue-Harte, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh. Oh, so Deinonychus. As a kid, I just loved the word Deinonychus. It just was
Okay.
like, "What?" I mean, I think they changed it to, like, Velociraptor now, but it's like,
Yeah. Okay.
back in the '80s, it's like we called it Deinonychus, and it was just kind of like one of those things where I just liked the fact that it had this, like, giant claw that,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
was just like, "Meh." Um, and I just I just thought it was yeah, so I didn't learn English until I was 13. And
Okay.
so I always have a hard time with words that have a lot of R's and L's in them and TH sounds. So,
Okay.
so even my name is like I rarely ever say Samantha. It's like I say Samantha, you know. Um, and it's just kind of Deinonychus was just a dinosaur that I could pronounce and never have any
Love it.
issues with it.
Love it.
So, because yeah, I have a hard time with a lot of the other ones.
Fair enough. I can appreciate that. All right. Well, Samantha, thank you so much for coming on our show today and having this little chat with us. But where can our listeners go to find out more about you, your work, some of the stuff that you've got upcoming? What would be the best way?
Um, so I just started last year on Instagram. Um, I've kind of grown addicted to it. People say it's like I post too much. But I'm also on Facebook. Now, on Facebook, I ended up having to when you work on Star Wars, they kind of like uh they're always like, oh, it's like stay off of X or Twitter or whatever it's called. So I it's harder to find me on Facebook because I have my name written in Japanese. And I keep it mainly for my coworkers and for my family in Japan to communicate with me. But Instagram, I'm anime girl underscore Sammy, and it's Sami, and anime girl is all spelled one word. So anime girl underscore Sammy on Instagram there. It's like you'll see, it's like a lot of the stuff as it's happening. I post up a lot of like the news that we're working on things with. I just posted up 2 animated shorts that Gonzo just put out. Um, uh, it's like we were doing a project where we opened up to our fans and we were like, "Hey, fans, it's like you love Gonzo. It's like here's the thing, it's like send us your stories and we'll create a character design of your favorite characters. Of we'll draw a concept art piece based on our favorite
Cool.
stories that you guys have submitted, right?
Nice.
And so, we ended up getting thousands of submissions, and we picked out, it's like roughly about like a baker's dozen of these stories, and
Okay.
we were like, okay, uh, the the for each submission, it's like the the fans had to pay, just a small fee, right? And all the money that we gathered went to pay for the concept artist to design an art piece. And so then we showed, the fans, it's like all these art pieces, and we're like, okay, hey guys, um, here's these art pieces. Uh, if you like, one of them to become an animated short, let us know by buying
Hmm.
which one you want. And so the
Nice.
fans picked out, which ones they wanted, um, in the form of an NFT. And so what we did was every dime that we ended up receiving from the fans, um, like we ended up putting into like creating these shorts. And so far we've created 2 shorts, and we're
Cool.
gonna just put it all together as an anthology and then again put it out to the fans. Okay, we used your finances to help us make these shorts. Which one do you want to have as an animation,
Nice.
a full blown animation? And then we're getting up to that step after we get done with the rest of the shorts. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
that's kind of one of our fun little way of paying tribute to the fans and engaging directly with the fans. So I just posted up those 2 shorts. Um, and, it's like, I do try and respond to every every DM that I get. If I get the same question over and over again, then I'll just post it up as a big post, so that way people
Fair.
can see. And you can actually
Fair.
see some of my drumming.
Nice. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I will make sure that we put links up for those things down in the show notes down below so people can give you a follow and see what's going on and see what's coming up. Because I got the feeling that there's more coming that we haven't had a chance to talk about or that you can't talk about yet. So you guys are definitely going to want to pay attention to what Samantha Inoue-Harte is doing. Now, also, speaking of following people, if you haven't already followed the FSF podcast, now is your prime opportunity to do so. We'll put a little button up here, so we're going to go somewhere in there on the screen. Anyway, it'll be down there when we tie. By the time we edit this, and I have escaped my mother's basement, it'll be fine. But anyway, please give our show a follow. It helps us more than we can ever admit, and it helps us get amazing guests like Samantha here today to have these great conversations,
And the
have some
cat.
moments for you guys to listen to, have an awesome cat. Which, it's kind of funny that you bring your cat up on the screen because I just posted something to Instagram that somebody sent me this thing that said that we are, when people were looking for the FSF podcast, we showed up as the 20th in the search rate for Southern
Mhm.
hospitality. That was interesting, number one. But we were also in the 23rd and 25th for breeding of cats and cat breeding. We've never talked about those things online on the air. We've talked about cats a million times because Kathleen has cats. I have cats. We've talked about our dogs. We've talked about all these different pets. We've never talked about breeding the animals. Somehow we got into, so like, we're like, screw it. We're steering into the skid. Cat breeding, cat breeding, cat breeding. There we go. But if you haven't followed the FSF podcast, please take the time to do so. Follow us here on YouTube. And if you're going to check us out on your favorite audio podcast provider, make sure that it's Good Pods. We love Good Pods. It's a really great way to listen to a podcast as an audio provider. And they've been very supportive of us. We are the number 4 all-time science fiction podcast on Good Pods. So go give that a check. We'd like you to do that. So anyway, go check out Samantha. Give us a follow, and may the force be with you as you continue to live long and prosper. Goodbye.
Yay!
Copyright 2025 FSF Podcast. Reference any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpopcast.com.